Hey guys, my name is Ricardo. You may know me as Purple Dog. I have Pavel here with me, and you may know him as Smokey. Let's start with what you're currently doing on Thunder T1, Pavel.
It's a good question. We're currently at the time of the project where most of the basic game mechanics and base content has been created and established, and we are focusing our efforts on polishing and finalizing those elements that still need to be tied up. And as always in the game dev, the things that seem to be not that big usually take a long time, and there's many different reasons for that. But yeah, it's what we do right now, and we're trying to reach a stage in which Thunder Tier 1 will feel complete and without any major issues.
What does Pavel do in the game?
Right. What am I doing? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good question. That's worth asking yourself sometimes.
I do things. I port
Well,
rings.
my primary responsibility on this project is first and foremost production and direction. I try to make sure that the project gets delivered and is developed in a steady manner. I'm trying also to make sure that creatively we're all on the same course, and thus every person on the team involved in the project is understanding the full vision of the game, and I'm making sure that we don't deviate too far away from that original idea.
All right. How would you describe Thunder T1 to someone who never saw the game?
Right, so Thunder Tier 1 is basically a tactical top-down shooter game that is focused around small-scale operations. It is, I would say, a quite weird combination of a genre or a perspective that's usually attributed to arcade games, but with a healthy or maybe even unhealthy sometimes dose of realism.
Would
The
you call it too
main,
hard?
it tends to get on the hardcore side, yes, for sure. The intent is definitely to make a challenging experience rather than an arcade kind of a run and a gun game. This is a game where you have to take some time before you make the next move, analyze your surroundings and environment, prepare for the mission, or at least recon the mission first before you are able to complete it. Find the most optimal squad, team, roster, find the most optimal equipment and gear loadout, and complete the mission in any way you feel like it should be completed.
And what kind of missions are we talking about? What objectives do we have? What challenges do we have?
So the main mode is the co-op mode or the campaign mode, which is heavily objective driven, and these objectives range from simple tasks such as move to point A and destroy object B, through some more elaborate tasks where you have to defend some points from the enemy activity for a specific amount of time, um, and ending on more complex tasks such as rescuing hostages or capturing an enemy and escorting him out of the AO.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But would you call it more a PvP or a PvE game?
This is something that's still, is a little bit vague. It's a game that's made predominantly to be enjoyed in a co-op experience. But as the game is being developed, we're trying to leave an open room for PvP by taking careful approach to balancing and adding content to the game in order to, provide a fair environment also for two teams to fight against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, as we have three PvE modes and two PvP modes. So I'd say you could say it's mostly co-op. It's mostly PvE.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've already mentioned the difficulty, and for most part of gameplay is bound to be hardcore, realistic, with very low time to kill. Do we have any ideas, or is that a concern for us? The fact that the game is too difficult or can be too difficult? Are we approaching more casual players?
Um, in terms of gameplay itself, I find it good that the game is challenging, and it can be a little bit on the hardcore side, especially with a little bit more realistic difficulty setting. What we are trying to do, however, is that the game is not difficult on purpose on such layers as UI or general user experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want the people or players feel confused when they launch the game and start playing. And this is where a lot of polishing efforts are now focused on to make this first touch or first experience with the game more accessible.
Would you say that it's balanced, even if in a hardcore kind of way?
I would like it. I like to say it's fully balanced. Of course, there's still some stuff to do, but yeah, this is the intent of the main gameplay mechanics, the main gameplay loop. That it's easy to kill, easy to die, and as such, it makes up for what I would say quite satisfying and exciting experience.
Yeah. All right. And when did you start developing this? I mean, you're the whole brain behind Thunder. When did you start developing the game? And what was the inspiration behind Thunder 2.1?
I started working on this long time ago. It's been around 6 years, I believe, or maybe a little bit more, since we made our first steps in this project. Initially, I was just experimenting in Unreal Engine 4, which was something very new for me, as at the time I was working on a proprietary engine of Bohemia Interactive, and did not have much experience with commercial engines such as this. Previously, I only touched Unity, basically made a few games in there. And as I was learning about Unreal Engine, I did come across this kind of interesting top-down mechanics where you not only have to aim at the direction in which you shoot, but also you should be a little bit more accurate and more precise of what you're doing, and came up with this point-click shooting approach, which kind of reminded me of the old games I used to play, like old games like Cannon Fodder and so on.
No, what games influenced you? I mean, you mentioned Cannon Fodder. What else was there?
Yeah, and then because it's a shooting game, I immediately started thinking about games like Rainbow Six, the early ones, of course, the Ghost Recon, the Island Thunder. Of course, I also got inspired just because of the perspective by such games as XCOM, as Jagged Alliance, as Commandos, the series, Desperados, and so forth. So they're a little bit different games, but all of them have some elements that I tried to convey in this project, in this interesting mixture of mine.
Right.
Yeah, and I shared those mechanics with a couple of guys at the office, and some of them were very interested, and we started working together.
So there was like 2-3 guys, right?
It was 4 guys eventually within a 1 month span, and we tried to work like this for a good couple of weeks. And we already had a pretty nice prototype after 2 or 3 months.
All right, and then fast forward to where we are right now. Where do we stand? How many members does the team have right now?
Yeah, so the core team is a little bit below 1,000 people.
Another question that we've been asked a lot is why going for a top-down shooter?
Yeah, so there are a couple of answers to this question, and some of them are, some of them are quite straightforward. But for one, I feel like it makes the game in a way quite unique. There's not so many products like this out on the market, and this top-down perspective gives you a little bit more of a tactical feeling, in my opinion, especially when you command your team or play together in a co-op experience. It's kind of easier to perceive where everybody is and get this extra overview. Of course, it brings its own issues and makes it kind of hard to translate some of the basic shooter mechanics into such perspective. But nevertheless, it's what makes Thunder what it is.
Yeah, you mentioned something about fast prototyping. Is that a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, so that's the second thing. It's quite, I like to be an honest guy. So I can honestly say it's easier to work on a top-down game because you can focus more on the mechanics, focus more on the gameplay, and spend less time on polishing your assets or animations or all the visual cosmetic stuff. Because from this perspective, from this angle, you don't really need to focus on details. It's the general impression that matters, and this allows us to spend more time on playing around with different ideas that we have for the gameplay itself, and spend less time and resources on art in general. What you want to focus on is how the game plays and how it feels, and that's what top-down perspective allows you to do. You can do that faster and still make it look good.
What do you like the most about the current state of the game?
I kind of like the feel. I like the mechanics in which it is easy to die, but also easy to kill. And whenever I look at the graphics and the feel of the game, it brings a little bit of those nostalgic feelings in me, and brings me back to the teenager days. And playing those old cool games with with my friends or
Yeah,
even
I played a lot of those myself. XCOM, Jack the Lion's Cannon Fodder. I played all of them.
it does have this feel. I can't help but feel it, to be honest. It's just gives those vibes.
As things stand right now, what is your favorite mission?
Yeah, it's a tricky question. We discussed it many times. I think as the things stand, I would say my favorite mission would be the radio station mission, which actually is loosely based on an actual operation conducted by military. It's a fun mission. It's a long mission with a couple of sections in it, and it is a bit of a challenge to stay alive throughout it and complete it flawlessly.
What is your favorite feature in the game?
I mostly work with the shooting mechanics and movement, and I would say it's probably like the thing I have most fun with, especially the tweaking and polishing some of the weapon related behavior and mechanics, the ballistics, the penetration, and so forth. I think
And we have how many weapons right now?
It's a good question. 20 something, right?
Almost 30, right? What about your favorite game mode? We have a few game modes. We've already shown some of them. What would you say is your favorite game mode? What do you see yourself playing the most?
I think I would say co-op. I do enjoy Thunder for its co-op part the most right now. I do occasionally like to, play a round of ANS, but I think this is where I get the most fun with playing with other people and working as a team.
All right. Now we've also mentioned modding. We've been teasing modding for quite a bit. What can you tell us about modding? What's going to be available?
Yeah, so the game has always been developed with modding in mind, and as such, we will be allowing users to modify really a lot of elements of the game. I don't want to say everything, but almost everything. So you will be able to create your own missions, or you will be able to create your own gear, weapons, You will be able to even create your own voice profiles that you can use during the missions, your own shouts, and radio messages, even such stuff as game modes could potentially become a possibility in near future. I mean, the core dev team, the people who started the project, were part of, you know, the Arma family, and Arma, as you know, or as you may not know, is the heavily mod-based game where modding means everything really, and this is where a lot of our experience actually comes from, modding in games like this. So we thought that we should give the same opportunity to people who are gonna play our game because it did allow us to grow as developers, and it's a way of saying thanks and returning the favor. The second option is, of course, we realize that we're still a small team, we're an indie team,
Yeah.
and we cannot develop all the content that we want. We have tons of ideas, and uh, we would like to implement as many things as possible, but it's just simply not, there's simply not enough time or people to actually do it. So we want to offer an opportunity for anybody to come in and add their favorite stuff into the game and be able to take it from us and make it their own, and
Right.
also share it with other people.
So it's kind of like, yeah, you have an amazing idea. Why don't you just do it yourself? Here are the tools. Have fun, right?
Well,
So, to put it simply,
essentially, yes.
We learned a lot from had a lot of feedback. What did we learn from them?
We learn a lot of things actually. It's always good to have this fresh perspective on the game, especially if you work in a small team and you know the game quite well. So we compiled a list of a lot of suggestions that player had and a lot of feedback they had, and of course the bugs they have reported during the playtest.
There are no bugs, just unexpected features. Come on.
Just yes, happy accidents. We try to incorporate improvements and those and suggestions from the users in our roadmap, and quite a few already have been implemented. Others are being prototyped and researched for their feasibility. So yeah, we are definitely looking into almost every report, and we try to analyze if it's possible to include it and how important would be for the game to have those suggestions.
Yeah, we've also been asked a lot. When is this getting released? We still have questions about that in the chat. To be decided. We still haven't decided on a date. Same for the price. We've been asked about the retail price when the game is released. It is still to be decided, right?
Yeah, there is no confirmation on any of that yet.
Camo affecting visibility. Do you want to go into that right now?
Sure, yeah. So, as a matter of fact, within the last couple of weeks, we have actually been reworking the way the characters are perceived by other AI units and even player. And we have implemented systems that would tie in the environment that the character is in with their visibility coefficient. What that means in simple terms is that the environment or the location the character is in will define how easy it is to spot him. This is something that was more or less implemented in the previous builds, but it did not take the light into account and so forth. So right now we have made those changes, and we feel like especially the stealth part of the game is now gaining a lot because of that.
So I'm gonna start with one from Super BKDK, and he asked, aspect radios might have a big impact on what a player can see. Thoughts to combat this, or can we see an alternative to angling the camera to the corner?
Yeah, so what we have been focusing on for the last 2 months is working around better visualization of players' perception and the range at which they can see other characters. And to do that, we have researched several possibilities on how to make the camera and the visual effects better show the player how far he can see and make sure that his area of sight is within the screen, within what he sees on the screen, so that he does not have to really reach out with the edges or the corners of his screen to see more. So effectively what we did is we moved the camera up a little bit and we have decreased slightly the perception range or the sight range at which you can discover other characters. So now you will always there will be no situation where enemy can be seeing you and be outside of your field of vision, at least if we're talking about the left, right, and top of the screen.
We're talking about a fog of war kind of thing, right? Which is actually something that is playing right now on the gameplay, right?
Yeah. So this foggy effect you see at the corner of the screen, it's just a visualizer of how far your character can see, and as you can see, the visible area is perfectly within the screen. So it is not really possible for now to be surprised by somebody seeing you from way outside of your screen. And well, I hope this resolves a lot of issues. It does feel a little bit better and less annoying to play in this manner. And now actually we have been restricting the aspect ratio so far in the last playtest to 16:9. But it now allows us really to remove that restriction and allow people to see more of the map, but still not gain any real gameplay advantage because of that.
All right, and it kind of fixes the issue of angling or shooting to the corners, which is an issue with most top-down games, even
yes,
be there shooters or not. All right, then we have.
Well, it is especially an issue in our game because of the way you aim in this game, and the way you aim is with this game is not just about pointing in a direction. It's pointing at the right location you want to shoot at.
Yeah, it needs to be accurate aiming, which is
this is why the corner issue exists, because you like really need to move your mouse in the corner to shoot to that place. So the counter to this is to not allow for enemies to appear in those corners.
Yeah, but most people, if they at the first glance they don't understand that it's actually possible to aim towards an enemy's head, towards his arms, towards his chest, towards his legs. It is actually possible to do so. It's not easy. It needs some training, but yeah, that is possibly due to the way that we handle the aiming. Right. So UE Emperor, he asked, will there be a map designer for modding?
So all the modding will be handled through Unreal Engine. We will provide users with a special tool based on Unreal Engine that will manage all the mods and allow them to pack them and publish them and update them through Steam Workshop. And this will allow users to basically take whatever they create in Unreal Engine and share it with their friends in a matter of a couple of minutes.
Okay. Is it possible to create bigger maps through modding?
Yeah,
I love this question.
Yeah, so of course there could be some technical limitations related to the engine itself, but nothing stops you from making a bigger level than it has been designed by us. What our intent and our plan is to share as many tutorials and hints about using Unreal Engine to create missions, and also to provide some built-in scripts or functions or other kind of tools to increase the pace at which you can make the mission, and then the limitation is really your imagination and creativity.
Right. Then I also love this question, also by UE Emperor. Is there a possibility for more than 4-player missions, as in a 5th player or even 10-man teams?
So currently, the way we have set up our server system is limiting. It's limited to 4 basically in a co-op mode. But in the future, I believe that this can change, and we can allow mission designers to set whatever number of players they want. Of course, there probably will be some technical issues with having too many players, whether it's internet connection or just server performance. But I believe it won't be a big problem to increase those numbers.
Yeah, personally, I love big maps with big teams of 10 or even 20 players. I love the way it plays out.
I think I think it would be perfectly possible for users to create like large scale co-op operations of 30 people, maybe even.
Yeah. What I would say is that given the maps that we currently have, having more than, for instance, 20 people on the server can be too much due to the spawn points that we have for PvP
Yeah,
game modes.
so all our co-op maps are made with the intent to have 4 players maximum, because of the way you evac, because of number of spaces in the vehicles that you use during the missions, because of the fact you need to extract some extra people from the mission. So all of that is just tailored to four-man teams, and PvP is tailored to 8 players total. But it's not a limitation of the engine. It's more of a design intent and design limitation that we ourselves have imposed on ourselves.
And UE Emperor also asked, are static weapons in vehicle gameplay a thing?
Not yet, not yet. We had vehicles at some point in the project, and
I
they have
remember.
been briefly showcased on, I think, Twitter. But they had some issues, and we have decided to remove them from the base content plan. Perhaps if there's enough resources, enough time, we could think about adding those. We do have some basic functionality, but I guess there is a lot of work ahead of us to actually make it playable. We do have a vehicle expert on our team though, the programming side. So this we could make this happen quite easily. As far as the static weapons are concerned, they are also not in the game. Although uh, it 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 would be pretty cool if we could actually make them. We do have some form of static weapons, but they're pretty scripted and they cannot be used by players.
Yeah, I would love to see that. In some of the missions, I would love to see them. Yeah.
Oh, you can see them on this mission as well.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
stat
yeah. I tried not to say that, but thanks, Pavel. Yeah, this mission would be nice to have it on that roof over there. Yeah, would look really good. It would be devastating. I think it would force the players to avoid head-on assault. Then Blackjack GT, he asked, yeah, is there is there going to be an option to either respawn or get reinforced if a player is killed during a co-op mission?
So currently there is no such option, but I think it's a good suggestion, and we are now looking into implementing this and seeing how easy this will make the missions, and how much impact this could have on the playthrough. At the very least, I believe this could be an option for people to set for themselves when they want to play the game or to host this kind of scenario. So very much possible, yes.
All right. And then, will enemy AI get improvements? And it was pretty much due to this question that I recorded that footage that we're watching right now. There's a bunch of new AI commands, but Pavel, will there be improvements to AI?
Well, so for now, what you're seeing is kind of improvements to commanding system of the AI. we have added many new commands for them to so that you are able to expect them or make them uh, do some more advanced tasks. So you will be able to tell them to take cover. You will be able to control the formation you move in, and some other stuff. We also reworked the system of individual commands and even context commands. So now way more objects will allow you to issue context commands such as destroy, breach, uh, such as heal or use a med kit on another AI and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You now can even tell AI to escort a hostage or a captive, or even carry a body or rearm or resupply at the dead body if that dead body has the right magazines and so forth.
Mm-hmm. I would say that what plays a big difference, or what I see as a big difference during my recent gameplays, is the suppression mechanics. Now you can order them to suppress a certain area, which is I find it very useful. To take
Yeah.
cover.
So this shooting system actually, the suppression system and focusing system has been introduced. It's something we didn't have before, so it's kind of a new feature. And this also led to small changes in the way um, the give up mechanics work. So previously, you could force enemies to surrender or give
Mm-hmm.
up and drop their weapon by pointing at them and pressing the Alt key. This, however, has been now changed to be an area of effect kind of action. And it has been moved to another key. So you'll have a dedicated key to force enemies in your local neighborhood or right in front of you specifically to drop the weapon instead of having to point at
You
them.
don't need to point the weapon at them, right? Mm-hmm.
This should, well, it is good if you point the weapon in their direction because that also impacts their willingness to comply with your order. But um, you do require a different key, but you don't have to literally point at them. So in a sense, now it's kind of easier to, let's say, breach into a room and force both enemies who are inside to surrender at the same time. Uh, Something that you would
Mm-hmm.
expect to actually happen, rather than having to point at each of them and tapping Alt key.
Yeah. One of
Um,
the things that this clip right there, which is showing, is portraying, is the fact that AI can now escort the hostage, which you already mentioned.
mhm.
You can also see him rearm. You can order them to shoot the lights as well, which is very interesting. I love the fact that you can do that. And they're much more likely to use grenades and med kits and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
So now.
Yeah, so now they can actually use all the gadgets and all the grenades. You can uh, point a position on the ground and use Alt key and the right click to select which kind of item you want them to throw or use in that specific area. You can also, if you want to just quickly place a charge or a claymore, you can do that by holding Alt key over the location.
Yeah, I'm
And
now
then
showing how to send them to suppress an area, and they just shoot in the. How impactful is the suppression on enemy AIs?
well, it prevents them from changing the cover and also from picking. So it is quite important for you to utilize suppression in order to flank the enemy that's behind objects you can't really shoot through, and then apply very quite standard, fire maneuver uh, uh, drills
Hmm.
to overcome those enemies.
I think it's one of the things that most people don't really think about. It's the impact that certain things have. You were talking about surrender mechanics. We we used to take like 9 factors into consideration before an AI decides to surrender or not, right?
Yeah.
The-
So there's in general a lot of things that are happening on the back end, under the hood of the game. You see much less of it, and there is a lot of simulation going in the background, which is hidden from the player because he doesn't really need to know all those details. But it is important to know that we are trying to make it feel realistic, and it really is a simulation game where we try to really factor in a lot of different things when we implement every new mechanic.
All right. Then we have a question from Taboo. Hey Taboo, I think you were there somewhere on the chat. How customizable will our soldiers be?
You can change basically, as if I remember, 9 different parts of their gear, all of which can have some kind of impact on the character. So you can change the trousers, you can change the jacket, you can change, of course, select an armor or make the soldier have no armor for more mobility. You can select a headgear and a couple of headgear accessories, face gear accessories, eye, sorry, ear gear
Earpieces. Yeah.
accessories, like headsets, which can impact how far you can hear, or basically improve your communication. You can have for the face gear, you can have different masks that something that's currently being implemented, but it's not finalized yet, will allow you to reduce the effects of moving through smoke grenades, which will cause the characters to choke a little bit. Uh, Also, we have night vision, of course, which is one of the most important face gear
In the game, yeah.
elements, which will allow you to see in darker maps with bigger effectiveness. And of course you can have a backpack, right, which is like a massive storage container for mostly for your team members.
Claymores.
For claymores, yes, or tons of grenades.
Well, he also asked about is the dev team planning on introducing a lot of various color and camouflage schemes for every weapon and outfit?
Well, so currently the skins, the colors and the patterns are shared across all the gear elements. How many we have so far, I really don't
Quite a
remember,
few.
but
Quite a few.
It's above 20, and of course there's a
Yeah.
pink one in there as well. So
Why mention the pink one specifically?
Because it's the most important one, right? The one that
We
everybody
have a
asks
golden
for.
one as well, and a zebra
And
one,
yes,
and
these
cone
are
one, traffic
very
cone one as well.
very exclusive ones.
Yes, very.
We're also considering adding some kind of masks for different shapes to differentiate them, not only by color but also by the way those colors are applied in what places, to make them look a little bit more like jerseys.
We have a question on the chat by Psycho Galtis. How destructible will the environment be? This is actually a good question. I don't think anyone has asked before.
Yeah, so we're trying to make a lot of things destructible, actually, and that was one of the key creative directives issued at the very start of the project.
Explosions.
So yeah, we want there's quite a few things you can break in the game, including even like bits of cars which are parked on the street and whatnot. But even looking at this mission that is being played right now in the background, the whole marketplace area is completely destructible, with exceptions of maybe some metal element. But basically anything that's made of wood is most of the time can be destroyed into pieces.
All right.
And of course, you can, even if you can't destroy something, you can still shoot through it. So with high enough caliber and a weapon that can basically with high enough caliber, it's not really related to the weapon itself. You can shoot through the walls and hit people who are behind them.
Yeah, I would say that if I were to give a tip to new players is when in doubt, shoot it anyway, because most high caliber weapons will go through even walls on that construction building that we're seeing right now. Most of those walls you can pierce with let's say an AKM round.
Yeah, like 7.62, which is a good point actually, because there are missions where you are going to be fighting in close quarters, and you actually might want to choose weapons with low penetration because, uh, as just as in real life, we want to also simulate this part of the warfare that sometimes over penetration is a problem and can lead
Mm-hmm.
to unnecessary civilian casualties. So there will be a mission or two where you'll actually probably want to go for uh, smaller caliber weapons like 9mm or even lower, uh, just to make sure that you don't accidentally shoot a hostage while trying to hit a bad guy,
I
because the
remember
bullet will
talking to you
go
about
further.
that when it comes to different ammo types, right?
Yes. There's also different ammo types within a caliber. For now, we have some very basic distinction between hollow point and AP ammo, or basically the full metal jacket one. And it also allows you to make tactical or even strategical choices of whether you want to pack more punch, but penetrate, not be able to be so effective against heavily armored targets, or perhaps you have to fight heavily armored targets, but then you will be dealing a little bit less damage.
Which makes an interesting trade-off, right? If you know you're facing guys with assault rifles with armor piercing ammo,
Mhm.
perhaps going with no armor at all can be more beneficial to you in some ways.
Yeah.
More mobility and the impact, the damage is actually different, right?
Yeah, I'm actually we're actually trying to balance the armor in the game so that it does provide extra protection, but it's not like it guarantees you instant win. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, even in PvP modes, you will have to make choices between hollow point and AP.
I like the fact there's one. I think it's Type 4 armor that we have, and it if you shoot it with pistols with most of the pistols in the game, then you will notice a difference. But I remember playing with the guys in the community, and they say, I'm wearing an armor. Why am I so easy to kill? And well, it's not. It doesn't make you invincible. It's as you said, it's not an instant win just because you're equipping an armor, and everyone can equip an armor. It's not just. It's
Sure,
not meant to be overpowered.
sure,
Uh,
sure.
we also have an hang on. I think we can answer this right now, which is by Cypherius. Speaking of claymores, did you guys make it so that they could be shot or blown up to disable them? Because it wasn't like so in the latest beta. I think
Yeah,
I
so
think you can now, right?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
I think
I'll
you
have
can
to
now. I think you
look
can.
it up.
My kill rate, my kill ratio dropped like to 1.2 now.
They're also dealing slightly less damage now. They deal damage on a higher range, but it was a little bit balanced, so there can be multiple reasons why.
Okay, so
I actually think in real life, it really doesn't it's not enough to just shoot a claymore. I don't think it's gonna
it's not
blow
a
up.
what?
It's
It,
not gonna blow up if you shoot it. It's like C4, right? So
well,
it
as long as it's rendered, useless, I'm okay with it. As long as it doesn't kill me. No, he has a point. It used
yeah,
to
you
be an
could.
impassable trap, and you had to
Sure,
die
sure,
in order
sure,
for it to
sure,
to
sure,
be removed from a certain place.
sure,
But
sure.
now, as far as I remember, yeah, it's been fixed. So, J. Webmeister actually asked an interesting question, and we talked about it in earlier stages of development. Will there be civilian AI?
No, unfortunately. Like this is something we did talk about and we were considering, but an AI for civilians, I as that I understand some kind of um, uh, civilians that are running in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't really partake in the combat at all. This was unfortunately dropped for various reasons, but again, it still will be possible for modders to work on such models that would allow some civilian AI to spawn in the mission and make it a little bit more challenging for the player. But in the base content, this will be absent.
Yeah, it's still, but modders can always add them, right?
Yeah, yeah, it should be perfectly possible.
Yeah, because J Webmaster was actually mentioning, is it possible and to what level can the AI behaviors be modified by modders or map makers? Can they?
It's it's unreal. So you will be you can create your own custom behaviors for the AI
Mm-hmm.
and run those behaviors whenever you need them. So
Which would help him towards what he wanted to do, which is enemies blended into civs and in the civilians that go hostile and pull out concealed weapons when an opportunity presents itself. So yeah, this will be made possible if by modders if we don't pick it up in the meantime, right?
yeah.
Okay. So and now from Devil, who's there? Hey, English Devil. When it comes to mod support for things like maps and yeah, we already mentioned this one, which is UE4, right? Uh, but he then asked another question: is there any content creator stuff in the works, special promotions, application based stuff?
Um, I think that's best answered by you.
Well, we'll see about that, which is probably the best answer that we can give you right now, Devil. I know that I promised Devil that I would be joining him for a stream, and that is still on the table. I'll be more than happy to join you on stream and talk about Thunder as much as possible and play with you guys. And I'd like to make myself available to whoever's watching if possible. Yeah, if I have some free time, of course I'll join you. I'll play with you, and I'll join your streams if you want me to, and I'll answer any questions I may be able to answer on your streams. Um, just give me a holler on Discord. Just send me a message, which is what Devil did, and I'll be more than happy to join your stream. So I think that is pretty much all the questions that the community had asked. I don't know if you guys have any other questions you want to answer. We didn't want to make this too long. We wanted to create this small stream just to let you know the um, the current state of development. Oh, there's one actually, which is I think it. Yeah, I don't know how to read this. I don't know how to read this nickname. It's BO something. Any other playtest is still planned, Pavel.
Uh,
We're still working on it, right? We're
yeah. So uh, it is definitely on the plate. We just don't know the schedule right now, and things are very dynamic right now inside the project. So we also need to uh, sort some things out, and then we'll announce future plans when we know them, when we are sure that we can deliver.
mhm. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I mean, we know we said that we wanted to give you guys another playtest, but the thing is we had so many things, so many new ideas that you thrown our way, and so many things that we actually ended up adding to the whole concept of the game, and a lot of improvement, mostly on the AI side that as you've seen, or I hope you saw on the gameplay clips that have been looping on the background. That yeah, we'll let you know if and when a new gameplay test is bound to happen. Uh, if you have any questions, please drop by our Discord server, ask us on Twitter, ask us on even on Steam forums. Feel free to drop by and ask around. Most of the dev team, or if not all the dev team members, are on Discord already. So if you just tag a dev or tag me, Sayin, Marion, Dan, Andrew, you know, we'll be more than happy to give you an answer. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Pavel. You're the man. Big shout out to all you guys that have been around for with us for quite a long time, and for putting up with us on a on a daily basis. We love you guys. See ya.
See you guys. Take care.